Okay, imagine this. You start with just $100,
Right.
and just a month later, it somehow multiplied to $100,000. Sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into Daniel Priestley's world. He's built multiple million-dollar businesses, and he's going to kind of show us how that kind of growth is even possible. We're breaking down his interview from The Diary of a CEO. It's on YouTube. We're really going to uncover the mindset and the strategies he uses to spot opportunities that most people just miss completely.
Yeah, it is really interesting how he approaches entrepreneurship almost like a scientific experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the most surprising things you'll learn is how much Priestley emphasizes mindset. He believes that we all operate in these three mental modes. You got reptile, autopilot, and visionary.
And most of us are probably familiar with at least one of those, especially like
Yeah.
reptile mode,
Mhm.
That feeling of fear, that reactivity when something kind of unexpected happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're autopilot mode, right?
Yeah.
We're just going through the motions, kind of stuck in our routines. But Priestley says the real magic happens in visionary mode.
Yeah.
That's where you unlock creative problem solving, you boost your confidence, and you start attracting the right opportunities.
He actually tells this really incredible story about how he secured like $10,000 worth of camera equipment just by kind of shifting into this visionary thinking. He saw a need, he pitched his idea confidently, and then the resources kind of materialized. It's a powerful example of how just mindset can shape our reality. Have you ever like experienced a moment where tapping into a more confident, visionary mindset helped you achieve something that you originally thought was impossible?
I think, yeah, we've all had those moments where, we surprise ourselves with what we can accomplish when we believe in ourselves. But the key is, as Priestley points out, is being able to access that visionary mode consistently. He argues that a big part of entrepreneurship is about pitching, enrolling other people in your vision, and bringing those ideas to life.
It's fascinating how he sees pitching as almost like a manifestation tool, a way to turn thoughts into real, tangible results.
He even breaks down the art of pitching into a really practical framework. He calls it capstone.
Could you maybe walk us through that framework? I'm sure the listener's curious to hear how it actually works.
Yeah, absolutely. So capstone stands for clarity, authority, problem, solution, the why, opportunity, next steps, and essence. So let's break that down a little bit.
Starting with clarity, I imagine that's about ensuring your message is just crystal clear, right? Avoiding any jargon or convoluted language that might confuse the audience.
Yeah, you nailed it. Then there's authority, where you're establishing your credibility. Why are you the right person to solve this problem? What experience or expertise are you bringing to the table?
It's about building that trust and demonstrating that you're not just talking the talk, but you can actually walk the walk.
Right. Then you move on to the problem. What pain point are you addressing? What need are you fulfilling?
And it's crucial to articulate the problem in a way that truly resonates with your audience, highlighting the impact it actually has on their lives or their businesses.
Right. Then you present the solution. So your product, your service, your innovative approach to solving that problem.
It's that classic problem-solution framework, but then Priestley takes it a step further with the why, which I think is particularly interesting. It's about going beyond just the logic and tapping into the emotional core of your idea. Why are you so passionate about this? Why should anyone else care?
Yeah, he believes that by conveying your genuine motivation and your passion, you create a much deeper connection with the audience. It's not just like a sales pitch. It's an invitation to join you on a mission.
And that's what truly compels people to action. It's about connecting with that shared purpose. And this leads nicely into the next element, opportunity. It's about, painting a picture of the bigger vision. How can others actually benefit from getting involved? What's the potential for growth and impact?
Exactly. It's about showing them this isn't just a good idea. It's a winning proposition that everyone can benefit from.
And then finally, there's essence. It's the feeling that you want to leave people with, that lingering emotion that makes your pitch truly memorable and impactful.
Think of it as the aftertaste, right? You want them to walk away feeling inspired, energized, or maybe even a little intrigued. This framework is brilliant because it forces you to think beyond just the features and the benefits of your product or service. It's about crafting a narrative that connects on an emotional level.
It's a valuable tool for anyone who needs to persuade or influence others, whether you're pitching a business idea or asking for a raise, or even convincing your partner to try a new restaurant.
So imagine you're about to launch a new product or service. Would you just dive in head first and invest all your resources, or would you kind of test the waters first?
I think Priestley would advocate for testing the waters. He's a big proponent of validating the demand before you actually go all in on supply.
Exactly. He sees way too many entrepreneurs getting caught up in building the perfect product without first making sure there are actually customers out there who want it. It's like building a luxurious mansion in the middle of nowhere.
And then wonder why no one's showing up for the housewarming party.
Exactly. He believes in running these low-cost experiments to gauge interest before investing significant time and money.
Think waiting lists, discussion groups, quizzes, just simple ways to test the market without, breaking the bank.
He actually shares an example where he used a simple waiting list to raise 300,000 pounds for a book writing AI idea. He didn't even have a product yet, just the promise of a solution, and people were eager to get on board. This really highlights the power of tapping into a genuine need and validating your idea before you even build it. Have you ever poured your heart and soul into a project only to realize later there wasn't a market for it?
I think many of us have been there. It's a valuable lesson, albeit a painful one.
And that's exactly why Priestley's approach is so valuable. It's all about minimizing risk and maximizing learning.
Yeah, it's like that famous quote, fail fast, fail often. But Priestley's approach is more about failing smartly, learning from those experiments and refining your idea until you really have something people actually want.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. So you might think Priestley's all about those like flashy tech startups, but he actually believes that some of the best opportunities lie in acquiring existing businesses.
Especially those boring businesses that people often overlook.
He's talking about dry cleaners, laundromats, local manufacturing companies, businesses that have been around for years, often owned by baby boomers who are looking to retire.
So instead of starting from scratch, you're inheriting a customer base, systems, and oftentimes a solid reputation in the community.
Exactly. And Priestley argues that these businesses can often be acquired at a bargain price because they're not seen as, sexy or disruptive. He even tells this great anecdote about a friend who revitalized a laundromat business by simply digitizing operations and re-engaging the team. No need to reinvent the wheel, just update and optimize what's already working. It really challenges the conventional wisdom of what makes a good business opportunity.
Does this shift your perspective at all on where to look for potential investments?
It definitely opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And it makes you realize that there's value to be found in those businesses that are often flying under the radar. Speaking of under the radar, let's talk about the elephant in the room, AI.
Priestley sees AI as a complete game changer, but it has this crucial warning. AI can either turn us into passive consumers or empower us to become these super creators.
He's urging us to be mindful of how we engage with AI, to use it as a tool for creation rather than just mindless consumption. So think about how you're currently using AI in your own life. Are you using it to enhance your productivity, learn new skills, create something new, or are you primarily using it for entertainment and distraction?
It's a powerful question, and it really highlights the importance of being intentional with our use of technology. Now, earlier we talked about Priestley's belief that entrepreneurship is a team sport. But with the rise of AI, he starts to kind of question whether that will always be the case.
Yeah, it's interesting how he brings up Sam Altman, the founder of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
who believes that AI will eventually lead to these one-person billion-dollar companies.
Because AI can essentially perform the tasks of an entire team.
Exactly. And this gets Priestley thinking about the future of entrepreneurship. Will we see the rise of the solopreneur
Right.
leveraging AI to build and scale businesses without the need for, large teams?
It's a mind-blowing concept, and it raises a lot of questions. Will human connection and collaboration become less important in the business world? Will we lose those valuable brainstorming sessions, those moments of serendipitous innovation that happen when people actually work together? What do you think?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think there will always be a need for, human ingenuity, creativity, and emotional intelligence. AI might be able to generate content, analyze data, automate tasks, but it can't replicate the human spark.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if those uniquely human skills will become even more valuable in an AI-driven world. But even if we do see the rise of these one-person billion-dollar companies, building a team is still crucial, at least in the early stages of a business. And Priestley has a really interesting approach to team building, drawing inspiration from an unlikely source, the British military.
Really? Tell me more about that. How does the military approach team structure?
So he explains how the military starts with these small, specialized units
Hmm.
and scales up as needed. So you have like 2-person scout teams, and you have 4-person fire teams, 8-person sections, and then ultimately like 30-person platoons. They have a very, very clear structure for growth and delegation of responsibility.
It's a hierarchical structure that emphasizes specialization at each level. And how does Priestley actually apply this to his own businesses?
He replicates that model, starting with a core team of 2, then expanding to 4, then 8, and eventually building out a full-fledged team of 30 once the business hits a certain level of maturity.
It's interesting how he draws these parallels between the military and entrepreneurship, both environments that require strategic planning, execution, and the ability to adapt to changing conditions.
But what I find most intriguing is how Priestley focuses on finding people with complementary energies. He uses the 4 suits in a deck of cards as an analogy.
I'm curious to hear how that plays out. Which suit represents which type of person?
He describes clubs as the big picture thinkers, the visionaries. Spades are the doers, the ones who get things done. Hearts are the connectors, the relationship builders. And then diamonds are the numbers people, the financial and analytical minds.
It's a really clever way to illustrate the importance of having a well-rounded team.
Priestley have seen countless businesses fail because they were just too heavily weighted in one direction. You might have a brilliant visionary leader, but if they don't have someone who can execute those ideas, they'll go nowhere. Or you might have a stellar sales team, but without someone managing the finances, the money will just disappear.
It's about finding that balance, that synergy where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
Now imagine you're at a dinner party, and then someone asks you, so what's your secret to financial success? How would you respond?
Well, I'll probably start by asking them what their definition of financial success is. It's a very personal and subjective concept.
That's a good point. But let's say they define it as having a steady stream of income and the freedom to pursue their passions. What advice would you give them?
I'd probably echo Priestley's advice, which is that income follows assets. It's not just about working harder. It's about building assets that work for you.
Yeah, he reminds us that those assets can take many forms. It could be real estate, stocks, intellectual property, or even like a strong personal brand. It's about shifting from active income, where you're trading your time for money, to passive income that's generated by your assets.
But building assets takes time and strategy.
Priestley suggests that even with limited resources, you can start by investing in your own skills and development. Take a course on negotiation, sales, public speaking, anything that can increase your earning potential or make you a more valuable asset to others.
He even goes as far as to say that money is, in essence, relationships. It's about building genuine connections with people who are already in the flow of money. He shares a story about how he joined a private bank's entrepreneur program, even though he didn't technically qualify at the time. He knew that by putting himself in that environment, he would meet people who could open doors for him.
And it worked. He ended up hosting a dinner party on a 100-foot yacht, owned by someone he met through that program. It's a testament to the power of networking and building relationships with the right people.
It's not about using people. It's about aligning yourself with individuals who can support your growth and open up new opportunities.
So if you had to give someone actionable advice on how to improve their financial situation, starting with just $100 a month, what did you tell them?
Based on Priestley's insights, I'd tell them to invest that $100 in taking people out to dinner.
Really? Just buying meals for people. How does that translate into financial success?
He believes it's a valuable investment in your future. Reach out to people you admire, those who are a few steps ahead of you on the path you want to take. Offer to buy them lunch or dinner and just genuinely listen to the stories and advice.
Yeah, it's about seeking mentorship and guidance from those who have already achieved what you aspire to. It's amazing how something as simple as a shared meal can create valuable connections and open up new possibilities.
And speaking of creating opportunities, Priestley and the host of the show have an interesting conversation about the art of asking. They both receive tons of messages and requests, but very few actually stand out.
Yeah, they talk about the importance of what they call with or without you energy when making a request.
Could you elaborate on that concept? What does with or without you energy actually mean in this context?
So it means presenting an opportunity that's going to happen regardless of whether the other person decides to get involved. You're not pleading or begging. You're simply inviting them to be part of something that's already in motion.
It's about framing the request in a way that empowers the other person to make a choice rather than making them feel pressured or obligated.
Priestley argues that people are much more likely to say yes, well,
Yeah.
when they feel like they're joining something that's already gaining momentum. He uses the example of how he landed a book deal and raised £300,000 for an AI-powered book writing tool before the product even existed.
He was essentially selling the potential, the vision, before the tangible product was even built.
And he did it by demonstrating that he had already validated the demand through his waiting list and the insightful questions that he asked within that group.
It's about creating a sense of exclusivity and tapping into that, fear of missing out on something innovative and potentially game-changing.
Yeah, he also uses examples like Glastonbury Festival and Rolex, both of which have mastered the art of creating anticipation and scarcity through their waiting list.
It's about strategically creating a sense of value and desirability. So even if you're not launching a high-profile festival or a luxury watch brand, you can still use these principles to generate excitement and interest. Think about how you might apply these strategies to your next, project or venture.
He suggests testing the waters with low-cost experiments, maybe starting a discussion group on social media, running a poll, creating a quiz to gauge interest and gather valuable feedback. He even recommends incorporating a few challenging questions as part of the sign-up process.
That seems counterintuitive. Wouldn't that deter potential customers?
Actually, Priestley I cites a psychological study that suggests the opposite is true. Making people work a little harder to gain access can actually increase their perceived value of the product or service.
It's like that old adage, we want what we can't have.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a sense of exclusivity can make something seem more valuable.
He even compares it to the allure of elite universities like Harvard.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that the education is vastly superior. It's the difficulty of getting in that creates that sense of prestige and desirability.
It's a fascinating insight into human psychology. We're naturally drawn to things that are perceived as exclusive or difficult to obtain.
And it's not just about psychology. By incorporating those challenging questions into your sign-up process, you're also filtering out those who aren't truly interested or committed, leaving you with a more engaged and enthusiastic group.
Now, earlier we talked about Priestley's interest in acquiring existing businesses, especially those boring boomer businesses that are often overlooked. I'd love to dig a little deeper into that strategy.
So he sees a huge opportunity in those businesses that have been steadily operating for years, maybe even decades,
Yeah.
but haven't necessarily kept up with the times.
So there's potential for modernization and growth.
Exactly. He shares an example of a friend who acquired a laundromat business
Mm.
and just revitalized it by simply digitizing operations and re-engaging the team. He didn't change the core service. He just made it more efficient and customer-friendly.
It's a reminder that innovation doesn't always have to be radical. Sometimes it's about making smart, incremental improvements to an existing model.
And Priestley's argument for acquiring these types of businesses is quite compelling. You're not starting from scratch. You're inheriting a customer base, established systems, and often a good reputation in the community.
It's a lower risk entry point compared to starting a business from the ground up.
And because many of these businesses are owned by individuals looking to retire, they're often willing to negotiate favorable terms.
Essentially, the business itself becomes the collateral for the purchase.
Priestley even suggests that these acquisitions can often be financed by the sellers themselves through a structured payout over time. And because these businesses are often seen as less exciting or glamorous, they can be acquired at a bargain price.
It's like finding those hidden gems that others have overlooked.
Yeah, he argues that a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in the hype of flashy startups while missing out on these solid, profitable businesses that are ripe for modernization.
It's a contrarian approach that challenges conventional thinking.
He points out that 65% of all business equity in the economy is owned by baby boomers. That's a massive amount of wealth and ownership that's about to change hands.
A huge opportunity for entrepreneurs who are willing to step in and acquire these businesses, breathe new life into them, and create even more value.
It's a fascinating strategy that combines elements of entrepreneurship and investment.
Now let's shift gears and talk about the elephant in the room, AI. It's a topic that's both exciting and somewhat unsettling.
Absolutely. And Priestley, being a tech-savvy entrepreneur, has a lot to say about it.
So what's his overall take on the AI revolution? Is he optimistic, cautious, or something in between?
I'd say he's cautiously optimistic. He acknowledges the immense potential of AI, but also emphasizes the need for humans to actively engage with it rather than becoming passive consumers.
So it's not about AI replacing humans, but about humans leveraging AI to amplify their capabilities.
Exactly. He used the analogy of AI being this powerful tool that can either be used to build amazing things or to become trapped in a cycle of mindless consumption.
Like any powerful tool can be used for good or for ill.
He's concerned that AI could further divide society into two groups,
Yeah.
creators and consumers.
And he's advocating for individuals to make a conscious choice to be on the side of creation rather than simply consuming what AI turns out.
Yeah, he urges listeners to consider how they're currently using AI in their own lives. Is it enhancing their productivity and creativity, or is it primarily a source of distraction?
Yeah, it's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
This part of the interview gets really interesting because Priestley challenges his own earlier assertion that entrepreneurship is a team sport.
Interesting. What prompted this shift in his perspective?
He mentions Sam Altman, the founder of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
who believes that AI will eventually enable the creation of one-person billion-dollar companies.
Because AI can essentially perform the tasks of an entire team.
Yes. And this gets Priestley thinking about the future of entrepreneurship in an AI-driven world. He acknowledges that this scenario is likely to become a reality, with individuals leveraging AI to build and scale businesses on their own.
A paradigm shift in how we think about entrepreneurship,
He does, however, believe that there will always be a need for human connection and collaboration.
even in an AI-driven world.
He argues that while AI can handle a lot of the technical tasks, it's still humans who provide the context, the vision, and the creative spark.
The irreplaceable human element that AI, at least in its current state, lacks.
And he emphasizes that even those one-person billion-dollar companies will likely still need to build partnerships and collaborate with others to achieve their full potential.
So it's not a complete elimination of teams, but a redefinition of how teams function and collaborate in an AI-driven landscape.
That's a really interesting point. He envisions a future where smaller teams, maybe 5 or 6 individuals, can achieve the output of what once required hundreds of people, all thanks to the power of AI.
AI as a force multiplier amplifying human capabilities.
Yeah, he also draws a distinction between AI's strengths in content versus context. So he argues that AI is excellent at generating content, but still struggles to grasp the nuances of context.
It can produce words and images, but lacks the deeper understanding of meaning and intention that humans possess.
He believes that's where humans will continue to play a crucial role, providing the context and direction for AI to work its magic.
So a symbiotic relationship, each leveraging their strengths to achieve a shared outcome.
Yeah, he even suggests that the skills most valuable in an AI-driven world will be those that AI struggles to replicate. Creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and the ability to build relationships.
The uniquely human skills that will become even more valuable as AI advances.
Now let's shift gears and talk about a topic that's often debated, especially in entrepreneurial circles, the concept of work-life balance.
A perennial challenge for those striving for success.
So the host of the show asks Priestley for his honest take on whether work-life balance is even achievable for those who are building successful businesses.
A question that many entrepreneurs grapple with.
Priestley's response is quite pragmatic. He points out that many people who preach work-life balance only arrived at that perspective after working tirelessly for years to achieve their success.
So they've already put in the hard work and are now in a position to prioritize balance.
Exactly. He also highlights that the nature of work has changed significantly. Many entrepreneurs are no longer confined to traditional 9-to-5 jobs. They're working on projects that they're passionate about, often with more flexibility and autonomy.
Work itself has become less rigid and more integrated with life.
He acknowledges that entrepreneurs often work long hours, but the type of work is often more fulfilling and engaging.
A crucial distinction. It's not just about the quantity of work, but the quality and the passion invested in it.
He suggests that the real issue isn't necessarily the amount of work,
Yeah.
but rather the feeling that work is a chore, a necessary evil to earn money.
When work becomes intrinsically rewarding, the lines between work and life begin to blur.
Priestley emphasizes that if your work is simultaneously generating both income and valuable assets, it's more sustainable and less likely to lead to burnout.
Yeah, creating assets that work for you even when you're not actively working.
Yeah, he draws a distinction between work that builds assets and work that simply trades time for money.
And what are some examples of each?
So he points out that building a successful YouTube channel, launching a profitable online business, or even writing a book that generates royalties are all examples of work that creates assets that continue to generate value over time.
Assets that compound in value and provide ongoing income streams.
On the other hand, working as an Uber driver or in a traditional hourly job might provide income, but doesn't necessarily build assets that work for you in the long run.
So it's about the long-term impact of your efforts, not just the immediate reward.
Priestley argues that those who are able to align their work with their passions and build valuable assets in the process are much more likely to find fulfillment and achieve a sustainable level of success.
Combining passion, purpose, and strategic asset creation.
Okay, now let's wrap up this deep dive with one final question that the host of the show poses to Priestley. What's one thing you wish you'd known about sex and relationships in your youth?
An unexpected but intriguing question to conclude with.
Priestley's response is actually quite profound. He says that in his younger years, he saw sex as a compartmentalized act, separate from the larger context of a relationship.
A common misconception, especially among young people.
He reflects that as he matured, he realized that the true enjoyment of sex is deeply intertwined with the quality of the relationship outside of those intimate moments.
The intimacy and connection that extends beyond the physical act itself.
He emphasizes that when you find someone you truly love and with whom you share a deep connection, sex becomes an expression of that love, adding another layer of richness and meaning to the relationship.
Moving from a purely functional act to a more holistic and meaningful expression of love.
And in a final tieback to his earlier points, he suggests that this shift reflects a move from functionality to vitality.
From a focus on the act itself to a deeper appreciation for the emotional and relational context.
He acknowledges that many young men in particular might feel a sense of pressure or insecurity when it comes to sex, often resorting to tactics or strategies that lack genuine connection.
Approaching sex from a place of neediness or insecurity rather than confidence and genuine desire.
He shares that as he built his own confidence and sense of self-worth, his approach to sex and relationships shifted as well.
So his personal growth and self-acceptance translated into healthier and more fulfilling relationships.
He emphasizes that finding true fulfillment in both sex and relationships comes from a place of self-love, confidence, and a willingness to be vulnerable and connect with another person on a deeper level.
Creating a foundation of trust and intimacy that allows for greater enjoyment and fulfillment in all aspects of the relationship.
This part of the interview really highlights the interconnectedness of personal growth, self-acceptance, and the ability to form healthy, fulfilling relationships.
And it serves as a reminder that true success encompasses all aspects of life, not just our professional achievements.
It's about finding balance and fulfillment in all areas. Work, relationships, personal growth, and even our approach to intimacy and pleasure.
A holistic perspective on what it means to live a well-rounded and meaningful life.
So this deep dive has covered a lot of ground. We've explored Priestley's insights on mindset, pitching, team building, acquiring businesses, navigating the AI revolution, and even finding work-life balance.
It's been a fascinating journey through the mind of a successful entrepreneur.
And what's really cool is that he doesn't just talk about these concepts in the abstract.
He grounds his advice in real-world stories, examples, and even personal anecdotes, making it both relatable and actionable.
And I think that's what makes this deep dive so valuable.
It's not just about acquiring information, it's about extracting those nuggets of wisdom that can be applied to our own lives and pursuits regardless of our chosen paths.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply someone looking to navigate life with a bit more purpose and intention, I think there's something here for everyone to take away.
Absolutely. It's been a deep dive in the truest sense. But I do have one lingering question that wasn't explicitly addressed in the interview.
I'm all ears.
So Priestley talks extensively about identifying and seizing opportunities, building winning teams, and the importance of having a clear vision. But he doesn't delve much into the emotional and psychological challenges that entrepreneurs often face.
That's a great observation. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
Exactly. I'm wondering how he navigates those inevitable moments of self-doubt, fear of failure, and the pressure that comes with taking risks and putting yourself out there.
That's a really important point. It's easy to get caught up in the success stories and forget that even the most successful entrepreneurs have faced those same challenges.
Yes, it's the human side of entrepreneurship, the inner battles that aren't always visible from the outside.
Right. And I think it's crucial to acknowledge those challenges because it makes the journey more relatable. It reminds us that it's okay to feel those things. It's part of the process. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about pretending those challenges don't exist. It's about developing the resilience to navigate them.
And I think that brings us to a really important point. While this deep dive has been packed with like actionable strategies and insights, it's crucial to remember that entrepreneurship is a human endeavor.
Yeah, it's about more than just numbers and business plans. It's about navigating those inner landscapes of doubt, fear, and determination.
And while Priestley doesn't explicitly address those emotional aspects in this interview, I think many of his principles can be applied to those internal challenges as well.
For instance, his emphasis on cultivating a visionary mindset can be equally powerful in overcoming self-doubt. So instead of fixating on what might go wrong, you shift your focus to the vision of what you actually want to achieve.
It's like choosing to focus on the destination rather than the bumps in the road, and surrounding yourself with a supportive team, as Priestley suggests, can also provide a buffer against those inevitable moments of uncertainty.
Yeah, those are the people who remind you of your strengths and encourage you to keep going when you feel like giving up. So think about the people in your life who inspire you and believe in your potential. How can you lean on them for support as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey?
That's such a valuable reminder. We often try to do everything ourselves, but having a network of support can make all the difference. And remember, Priestley's advice about testing and validating your ideas before going all in, that can also help to reduce fear and uncertainty.
By gathering feedback and data early on, you can build confidence in your decisions and minimize the risk of making costly mistakes. It's about approaching entrepreneurship with a sense of informed experimentation rather than blindly leaping into the unknown.
And even his strategy of acquiring existing businesses, especially those boring ones, can be seen as a way to mitigate risk and navigate the emotional roller coaster of starting a business.
Yes, stepping into an established business with a proven track record can provide a sense of stability and security, which can be especially valuable when you're facing those inevitable moments of self-doubt.
Yeah, it's about finding the right balance between calculated risk-taking and managing your emotional energy. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Building a successful business is about so much more than just mastering the technical aspects.
Yeah, it's about cultivating the right mindset, surrounding yourself with supportive people, and developing the emotional resilience to navigate the inevitable challenges that will arise. It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, and learning from every experience.
This deep dive has given us a glimpse into Daniel Priestley's world, his strategies for success, and his unique perspective on entrepreneurship. But it's up to each of us to take these insights and apply them to our own lives in a way that feels authentic and aligned with our values.
And remember, the most valuable lessons often come from those moments of challenge and uncertainty. Those are the experiences that shape us, build our resilience, and ultimately lead us to greater growth and fulfillment.
So as you embark on your own entrepreneurial journey, remember to embrace the challenges, celebrate the wins, and never stop learning. Until next time, keep diving deep.